This is a sample chapter from Fitton Books. Chapter 3, Time Portal Alpha, July 15th, 2084. What time is it anyway? McKenna had been told by every member of his team that during the last week, the time displacement near Phobos had severely weakened. He shook his head as he sat at the system's computer screen. Every system, every computer, and even the clear span surrounding the platform were brought, as per McNulty's orders, to a pristine solidarity. You ever hear of a pristine solidarity, Rasputin? I began a search back to even the ancients, and there is no expression called a pristine solidarity. A McNulty original, said Cam, wiping his face with a dry cloth. Even the toilets have a pristine solidarity. McKenna smiled as he looked down the long maintenance bay. Glad to see you're earning your keep, Cam. Cam grinned and nodded. Yeah, it's so clean, I'm afraid to even use the facilities, said Annie. What about the computers, Annie? Asked McKenna. Everything is as new as it was when Time Portal Alpha was built 5 years ago, she said, walking over to Steuben. And how are your schooner engines, Mr. Steuben? Engines are at optimum. For what? For simulation? Ah, that is the premier question, Georgies. For what? McNulty and the conferring group of officers agreed with McKenna that the disturbance near Phobos was an aberration. The probes had yielded nothing visual or at the energy level of the last 10 days. McKenna's team split up that evening, and McKenna just needed the clearance from McNulty to leave Time Portal Alpha and to meet with Beth. Bringing her back to Time Portal Alpha was a national security issue, according to McNulty, because of her ability to dig for more answers about the project. She already hated McKenna and would be furious when he brought her back to Time Portal Alpha. McKenna sipped on a coffee and donut as he stood near a cafe counter overlooking Earth, half in the shadow of night and the last few hours of sunlight over California and the Pacific coast. She would not be happy about being brought to Time Portal Alpha. At least the Phobos readings had all but vanished. Later, as he waited for McNulty's message, McKenna spoke to his brother on a viewer in his downtown LA office. He continued to nibble on a vanilla cream donut. They talked about Steve's job and then about McKenna returning to Los Angeles. So what I'm saying, Steve, is that I'm wrapped up in something. An unknown mission and an unknown location. Here, I have Jen and Scooter on the line, Mark. Great, answered McKenna. Hi, Uncle Mark. Hi, Uncle Mark. Are you coming back this weekend? Maybe before that, Jen. She smiled at Scooter. Can we go back to the Clogger? We'll see, said Steve in the background. When do you think you'll be back, Mark? Steve, I have to meet with Beth. Oh, Beth. Where are you meeting? Griffith Observatory. Well, it's a clear day, almost evening, said Steve. You'll see the whole LA Basin. Maybe we should bring the kids up this weekend. If it's clear and no smog. Exactly. My superior should give me clearance momentarily, Steve, and I'll talk to you then. Bye, Mark, said Steve. McKenna finished the donut and threw the coffee cup into the trash. He would tell Beth the truth about Time Portal Alpha, bring her back through the shield, and then let McNulty deal with it from Maryland. McKenna stepped from the Oversea and onto a hillside below a fence. He quickly vaulted the fence rail and walked toward the white building in the center with a dark dome and two smaller domes that overlooked downtown Los Angeles and the packed surrounding basin. He crossed the white walkways between the grass toward a central obelisk. A set of stairs led to an oversized green door, but McKenna veered onto the ramp to the left. Beth had told him they would meet on one of the balconies next to the telescope. She wore a simple light blazer and blue capris. Her long dark hair furrowed in the breeze. She carried a computer pad and gazed across the city streets. Thank you for coming, Beth. She spoke with her back toward him. This is a spectacular view, Mark. I can see Santa Catalina. And there's Long Beach. Perhaps I should write about this view in my piece. You mean adding perspective? She turned and her deep eyes were heightened in the evening sunlight, and her face framed by her raven hair. There has to be a reason why we're up here, Mark. Not that I object, but I guess there's a certain quietude. She meandered over to him as the breeze pushed up from the basin. Who the hell are you, Mark McKenna? McKenna paused as he followed the Pacific shoreline in the distance. The basin was loaded with foliage and inundated with packed houses, swimming pools, and businesses. The freeway curved out toward Pasadena, and another one dissected the buildings and trees directly toward Mount San Jacinto to the east. I am the team leader. She smiled. Oh, really? A team leader of what? A classified project. Why are you telling me this, team leader? Commander Mark McKenna. Sounds like the usual canned classified answer to me. We are a monitoring station. Monitoring what? She asked. Disruptions. I'm surprised you're meeting with me again. Monitoring what? She repeated. McKenna pressed his lips, scratched his neck, and panned the basin and skyscrapers downtown. Okay, my project was set up to engage dimensional reverses, advance time travel, and to monitor a group of individuals led by Dr. Nico Morrow. She set the padded tablet on her forearm. What was Morrow's real claim to fame? We were all involved in theoretical algorithms to see if altering the timeline was possible. She tilted her head and crunched her face. It was purely a defensive measure against Morrow or anyone having that ability. Sounds bizarre, and no one's going to buy it. You, Mark, have quite the story, and I'm not sure I want to waste my time. We were successful in a minor way. The problem is that Morrow was a sick individual and would have liked nothing better than to alter, said McKenna as he swung his hand across the Los Angeles vista, the existing reality. She dropped the tablet to her side now. I don't appreciate having my time compromised. Zuse, he said, making sure no one was around. Form shield. The shield's linear frame formed near the wall. McKenna walked inside the Oversea. He could hear her yelling. What the hell is that, Mark? Her eyes opened wide as he had surely disappeared. Zuse, drop shield. Here I am. Nice trick. What's the game? And what is Zuse? Konrad Zuse was a German and lived in the 20th century. Zuse constructed the functional program controlled the Turing-complete Z3 in May of 1941. He was the first. The device I have controls functions seen and unseen and manipulates matter. It is a focal point to open the Oversea, which is an artificially constructed timeline. The Oversea, in an added dimension, exists outside our reality. Zuse, the device, was named as a tribute to him. I said to myself, he's going to sling it, so just endure it. It's the truth, and you'll see. What do you mean, I'll see? She said. Let's try another approach, Commander. Your parents live back east, and your brother's family's here in L.A. Correct. I have cousins back east also, said McKenna. You worked at... Step over here, said McKenna. Why? I'm going to show you how I disappeared, said McKenna. Ah, the magician gives away his tricks. I'll be sure to insert the word prestidigitation into my blog. You do that. Zuse, shield around both of us. Form platform. The shield formed and the outside basin became slightly wavy before focusing. Beth gripped the top edges of the platform. She turned toward downtown L.A. What is this? Exactly what I told you. You are within the Oversea. The what? Oversea. You are in a parallel dimension. I don't know what this is, but don't insult my intelligence, McKenna. Zuse, construct a quadrant journey above the city. Oh my God, she said as they moved up vertically. Oh, another neat trick, I think. This is insane. McKenna studied the hill below the observatory. I've always found the city fascinating. Look at the sheer number of people and houses, all the cars and freeways. This is just another way of transportation, said Beth. No, this is a safe zone should the timeline change. Look, just bring me back. It all comes to life down there. Los Angeles buzzing with 15 million plus people spread over 502 square miles. You're not listening to me. I want to go back. This mode of travel is actually safer than walking down the street. She continued to grip the platform edge as she looked over the freeways below. Who cares? You're playing games with your highfalutin technology. Where is your base? You mean Time Portal Alpha. A monitoring station 2,500 miles over Earth in the Oversea. Oh, really? And I suppose your extraterrestrial team is up there, too. An all-human team, only 8 people. He pointed down at the ocean. Santa Monica and the Ferris wheel by the beach. Frazzled, she gazed back to the hill behind the observatory. If I wanted to see the Hollywood sign from the air, I would have hired a chopper. McKenna pointed across the water to a darkened rise offshore. Catalina is out there, 26 miles. Long Beach over there. Do you believe me now? No, I just don't know how you're accomplishing this. And the beautiful Los Angeles skyline against the San Gabriel Mountains from this perspective. Let's say you are telling the truth, and thus I know the truth. Why would you let me go? McKenna raised his brows. That's it, isn't it? You are very bright, Beth. If I was bright, I never would have tried to interview you. You knew too much back at the amusement park. You saw me enter the Oversea. No, I saw nothing. You saw it. It's my fault. First of all, I believe this sky tour of LA is some new military concoction. It's a nifty little ride and should be confined to the amusement park. We are really in the Oversea, said McKenna. He brought the platform toward downtown and weaved in between the skyscrapers. What'll I have to do to convince you, Beth? Okay, Mark, I'm calling your bluff. That is, if I don't get seasick. Bring me to your Time Portal Alpha. That is my intention. Oh, sure it is, she said, peering down intently at the skyscrapers and street below. This is like flying on the top of a drone. She had just finished speaking when McKenna sensed static electricity crackling on his arms and clothes. Beth swiped her arms several times. Do you feel that? Yes, what is it? I don't know, said McKenna as his Zuse sounded. Oh, he doesn't know, like I'm supposed to know, said Beth. Steuben's voice came through. Mark, an event is taking place. What is it? Who in God's name is that? She asked. Where's the transmitter? I just talked with Rasputin. He can't explain it. There are no waves or energy levels. But we do notice some sensation with the aberrant electrons. I have static electricity here, too. You best return to base now, Mark. Georgies, does this have anything to do with Nico? Nothing near Phobos. We'll figure it out, Mark. Okay, I'll join you in a few minutes. Beth turned. This whole thing is ridiculous. Where is he? Exactly where I told you. We'll be there in a few minutes. Then what? I don't know, Beth. I don't know. The reflective skyscraper's smooth facade became more opaque than reflective. Minute cracks, as if something were freezing the facade into fractures, appeared over the window streets. North, toward Mount Wilson and the San Gabriel Range, a sweeping, faint red hue spread like blood from an open wound across the landscape. Even the Hollywood sign behind the observatory no longer existed. Georgie, something is changing on the ground. Up here, too, a red shift of the sun, and the earth has an odd purple tinge. We're outside that timeline. I'm staying here to observe. Mark, don't be a fool. Get back here now. I need to see the change close up. McKenna out. What is this? Asked Beth. A low, pervasive hum unnerved McKenna. Makes no sense. Earthquake? McKenna shook his head. No. To his astonishment, the buildings collapsed into infinitesimal pieces, and a red linear plane punctuated the ensuing darkness. Out of sheer panic, Beth hung on to McKenna. Within half a minute, an entirely new set of buildings, none as high as the regular Los Angeles skyline, blinked into existence. It's a realignment, Georgies!
Mark, this is Rasputin. Timeline has been changed with no warning. No readings, nothing.
Are you telling me someone went back in time and changed our history? Asked Beth as her hands shook.
This is Annie, Mark.
Her voice was constrained.
I'm getting reports on audio and video of stations and people that never existed. July 15th, 2084.
He checked the basin beyond the buildings. There were extensive areas of orchards, farms, and small towns. More farms hugged the Los Angeles River as it swung from the mountains down to Long Beach. There were only two freeways, one leading east and one constructed north to south. He looked to his right, paralleling the freeway by San Jacinto. Annie, what is that pipeline by San Bernardino past San Jacinto? It scans as a water pipeline extending to the Colorado River. They get a certain amount of gallons per day.
Population of Los Angeles is 600,000. A medium-sized city, Mark. Apparently the outer towns are independent.
Said Steuben.
Cities that once existed are gone.
McKenna's face fell, stuck in incredulity as he stared at Long Beach Harbor. A rough estimate showed the amount of ships and cargo to be minimal. Then he swung to the right. No Disney in Anaheim.
There are real changes down there, Mark.
Said Rasputin.
The United States is a second or third-rate country. China and the European Federation extends into colonies in Africa, and they are the major powers in the world.
This is unbelievable. It's all changed down there. Sousa, bring the platform down to ground level.
Mark, come back to base,
said Steuben. The platform moved swiftly along the rows of fluffy green-orange trees across the outwashed plain. What the hell happened? Asked Beth. Nothing is the answer. Why? I have no idea. Sousa, bring me over to the San Gabriel River. Georgies, I'm moving over to the San Gabriel River.
We see you, Mark.
The river flowed nearly dry in a concrete spillway. A number of linear, light-colored buildings traced the river south toward Long Beach. More cattle, farms, and rows of crops extended along the sides. But the trees and the grass covered the ground less than a few miles to the east, where the landscape petered to scrubby brush and some trees toward the mountains.
Extraordinary,
said Rasputin. It's beyond that, said McKenna. Only an evil, corrupt, and amoral mind could destroy a civilization. Sousa, bring me over to that pipeline. Why do you call him Rasputin? McKenna gawked at Beth and wondered why this was the only thing on her mind when everything else had collapsed into an economic disaster. Beth leaned with her hands on the edge as they ascended 200 feet higher. The rusted steel pipeline crossed the scrub desert from Mount San Jacinto near Palm Springs. But he did not see the sign on the narrow concrete freeway for Palm Springs. The pipeline moved westward across the river toward the compact city called Los Angeles. It has to be Nico, growled McKenna. Then he raised his voice. He got his wish. He went back in time, and in some well-thought-out and demented plan, he diminished the United States. Where is he now? Archive 488, Alternative Timeline, September 11th, 2084. I write an incredible entry from an altered timeline. To recap, Admiral McNulty ordered me back to Los Angeles in the original timeline to escort Beth Daniels through the Oversea back to Time Portal Alpha. During that journey, the entire Los Angeles Basin was transformed before my eyes. Where once was a thriving megalopolis, there exists a much smaller and poorer city. Water is no longer piped into the city from multiple aqueducts, but from a single, unmaintained pipeline from the Colorado River. The United States has been subordinated to a third-rate power in the world. I don't know how this came to be, and further, I am not sure my archive reports will ever reach the original timeline. It's clear to me and the members of my crew that the center of this transformation was the time displacement waves emanating from the Martian moon Phobos. We all agree that either Dr. Nico Morrow or members of his countervail team are responsible for this tragedy. Our only hope is to locate the source of the transformation on the timeline and return via an untested schooner vehicle through time to prevent the changing of history. They're all gone now. My family, everyone I know, gone.